What if I told you that attraction doesn't begin in the body, it begins in the mind? If you think women lose sleep over looks, money, or lines, you're already playing the wrong game. Women don't stay awake thinking about what you did. They stay awake thinking about how you made them feel. Today, we're not talking about tricks. We're talking about psychology. The one thing that flips a switch in her mind, the thing that keeps replaying long after the conversation ends. If you want her to think about you at night, stop trying to impress her and start making her feel understood. Most men chase attention. You give presents. Most men talk to be liked. You listen to be remembered. Here's the truth no one tells you. A woman bonds emotionally when she feels safe being real, not judged, not rushed, not chased. So do this instead. When she opens up, don't fix her problems, don't interrupt, don't compete with her story. Just look at her and let silence do the work, because silence tells her, I'm comfortable, I'm grounded, I'm not afraid to feel. And that's rare. Then leave first. Not cold, not distant, just complete. You don't disappear, you don't cling, you simply let the moment breathe. That's when her mind starts filling the gaps. Why did he say that? Why did I feel so calm around him? Why do I miss his energy? That's not magic, that's psychology. Familiarity creates comfort, but mystery creates desire, and the man who balances both becomes unforgettable. Most men think attraction is built by effort, constant texting, constant proving, constant availability, but real desire isn't created by pressure, it's created by presence. Presence means when you are there, you are fully there, mentally, emotionally, energetically. No distractions, no agenda, no hidden need to get something from her. A woman feels this immediately. Even if she can't explain it, she senses when a man is not trying to pull her toward an outcome, but is simply grounded in himself. That calm focus does something powerful to her nervous system. It relaxes her, and when a woman feels relaxed around a man, her guard drops. Not because he forced it down, but because she feels safe enough to let it fall. Pressure does the opposite. Pressure feels like expectation, like demand, like a silent request for validation. Even when it's subtle, she feels it. And pressure makes her pull away emotionally first, then mentally. Presence, on the other hand, invites her closer without asking. It gives her space to lean in on her own terms. That autonomy is crucial to female psychology. Desire grows when she feels she is choosing you, not being chased into choosing you. When you're present, you listen without waiting for your turn to speak. You notice shifts in her tone, her energy, her pauses. You don't rush to fill silence because you're comfortable in it. That comfort communicates strength. It tells her you are stable, confident, and self-contained. And stability is deeply attractive. Especially in a world full of noise and emotional chaos, your calm becomes something her mind keeps returning to when everything else is loud. This is why she thinks about you later. Not because you overwhelmed her with words, but because you made her feel grounded. Your presence becomes a feeling she can't easily replace. At night, when distractions fade, her mind replays the moments where she felt most herself, and if that happened with you, your energy lingers, not loudly, quietly, persistently. Presence doesn't chase her thoughts, it settles into them. Mystery is not about being distant, cold, or confusing. It's about not revealing everything at once. Most men overshare too quickly, their plans, their emotions, their intentions, their availability. They think transparency creates trust, but dumping everything up front kills curiosity. A woman's mind is naturally wired to explore, to connect dots, to wonder. When there's nothing left to discover, her attention drifts. Mystery gives her mind something to play with, and what the mind plays with, it remembers. When you don't explain yourself immediately, when you don't rush to clarify every pause or message, you create space. That space becomes imagination. She starts filling in the blanks with her own thoughts, emotions, and interpretations. And here's the psychological twist. What she imagines feels more real to her than what you actually said. That's why mystery is powerful. You're no longer just a person in front of her. You're a presence that continues when you're not around. Mystery also signals confidence. A man who is comfortable, not being fully understood right away, shows that he doesn't need approval to exist. He doesn't chase reassurance. He doesn't explain himself to be liked. That self-containment is deeply attractive because it suggests strength, depth, and emotional control. She senses there's more beneath the surface, and women are drawn to depth far more than surface-level charm. This doesn't mean playing games, it means pacing. You share but selectively. You speak but with intention. You allow moments to end without squeezing every drop out of them. You leave conversations slightly unfinished, not abruptly but naturally. That almost is what sticks. Her mind returns to it later, replaying your tone, your words, your expression, searching for meaning. At night, when everything slows down, mystery becomes louder. The unanswered questions resurface. Why did he say that like that? What does he really think? Why does he feel different from the others? These thoughts don't feel stressful, they feel engaging. That engagement turns into emotional investment. Mystery doesn't demand attention, it invites curiosity. And curiosity is one of the strongest emotional hooks in female psychology. When she's curious, she's mentally involved. When she's mentally involved, you're already closer than you realize. You don't need to chase her thoughts. Mystery ensures they come back to you on their own. Intensity feels exciting at first, long conversations, deep confessions, constant attention, emotional highs that arrive too fast. Many men believe this is how attraction is built. But intensity burns quickly, it overwhelms, then fades. What actually creates emotional attachment in female psychology is consistency, not dramatic gestures, not sudden emotional floods. Consistency is quiet, steady, and predictable in the best way, and that's exactly why it works. A woman relaxes when she knows what version of you she's going to get. When your energy doesn't spike one day and disappear the next, when your words match your actions, when your presence doesn't feel conditional on her mood or response. That reliability signals emotional maturity, and emotional maturity creates trust, not logical trust, but felt trust, the kind that settles into her body and nervous system. The kind that makes her feel safe letting her guard down. Consistency doesn't mean being boring or available 24/7. It means showing up with the same grounded confidence, whether things are exciting or calm. You don't rush her when she's distant, and you don't overinvest when she's warm. You remain centered. That balance is rare. Most men either chase harder when they feel resistance or pull away completely. Consistency says, I'm here, but I don't need to force anything. That subtle message is powerful. Over time, consistency creates emotional familiarity. She begins to associate you with stability, clarity, and calm. And here's the psychological shift. Once her mind links you to emotional regulation, you become a place of rest. Someone she thinks about when she wants to feel balanced. Someone whose energy she misses not because it was overwhelming, but because it was steady. That's the kind of presence that lingers at night when the noise fades and her emotions surface. Intensity impresses briefly. Consistency imprints. It builds a rhythm in her life. Your messages don't surprise her, they comfort her. Your attention doesn't feel like pressure, it feels intentional. And when that rhythm is interrupted even slightly, she notices, not anxiously, subconsciously. That's when she realizes you matter. This is why consistency wins. It doesn't try to force desire, it allows desire to grow naturally, slowly, deeply. And once a woman emotionally attaches to consistency, it's hard to replace, because what you gave her wasn't excitement alone, but a feeling of emotional certainty. And that's what stays with her long after the moment ends. Confidence without neediness is one of the most powerful signals a man can send, because it operates beneath words. It's not about dominance, loudness, or trying to prove value. It's about self-sufficiency. A woman feels it when a man enjoys her presence but does not rely on it to feel whole. That distinction changes everything. When she senses that you want her but don't need her, her attraction shifts from casual interest to deep curiosity. Neediness communicates scarcity. It quietly says, I need you to validate me, choose me, stay with me. Even when unspoken, that energy is felt. It creates pressure, and pressure suffocates desire. Confidence, on the other hand, communicates abundance, not abundance of women, but abundance of self. It tells her you have a life, purpose, an emotional center that existed before her and will continue regardless of outcome. That stability feels grounding. And grounding is seductive. A confident man doesn't rush for reassurance. He doesn't over-explain himself to avoid misunderstanding. He doesn't change his tone, opinions, or boundaries just to keep her comfortable. That doesn't mean he's rigid or cold. It means he's anchored. When a woman interacts with a man who is anchored, her nervous system relaxes. She doesn't feel like she has to manage his emotions or worry about hurting him by being honest. That freedom makes her open up more, not less. Confidence without neediness also shows in restraint. Can over-text. You don't panic if she takes time to reply. You don't try to win her attention. You allow space, not as a tactic, but because you're genuinely okay either way. That calm detachment is rare, and rarity creates value. She begins to wonder why you're different from the men who chase, demand, and collapse emotionally. Over time, this kind of confidence becomes magnetic. She feels drawn not to what you say, but to how you exist. Your presence feels solid, predictable in the best way, unshaken. And that strength invites trust, curiosity, and desire to grow naturally. At night, when she reflects, she doesn't feel overwhelmed by you. She feels intrigued. Why doesn't he try so hard? Why do I feel safe around him? Why does his calm stay with me? That's the power of confidence without neediness. It doesn't beg for attention, it earns it. And once a woman associates you with emotional strength and self-control, her mind keeps returning to you, not because you demanded space in it, but because you deserve it. Confidence without neediness shows up most clearly in how you handle uncertainty. When you don't know where things are going, a needy man tries to lock the future down, labels, promises, constant reassurance. A confident man stays present with what is, without forcing what's next. That emotional patience is deeply attractive because it communicates inner security. She feels that you are not afraid of losing her, not because you don't care, but because you trust yourself either way. A woman subconsciously tests this. She may pull back slightly, delay responses, or shift her energy. A needy man reacts immediately, overthinking, changing behavior to regain control. A confident man remains steady. His tone doesn't change. His respect doesn't drop. His interest doesn't turn into anxiety. That steadiness sends a powerful message. I value you, but I'm not destabilized by you. And that message creates emotional safety. Confidence without neediness also means you don't negotiate your boundaries for attention. You don't say yes when you want to say no just to stay liked. You don't abandon your routines, values, or priorities to be available. When you give your time, it feels intentional, not desperate. That makes your presence feel valuable. Scarcity created by self-respect is far more attractive than availability created by insecurity. There's also strength in emotional containment. You can express interest without emotional dumping. You can be vulnerable without making her responsible for your feelings. That balance is rare. Many men either hide everything or unload everything. Confidence sits in the middle. You share when it matters and you hold yourself when it doesn't. That self-regulation signals maturity, and maturity is magnetic. Over time, this dynamic flips the script. Instead of you wondering where you stand, she begins to notice your emotional independence. She feels curious about it, drawn to it. She starts leaning in, not because you asked her to, but because your grounded energy creates space for her desire to emerge naturally. Attraction grows where there is no pressure to perform. Later, when she's alone with her thoughts, she doesn't replay your words as much as your energy. The calm, the certainty, the lack of emotional chaos, she compares it to other experiences and realizes how rare it felt. Confidence without neediness doesn't shout for attention, it lingers quietly. And that quiet strength is what keeps her mind coming back long after the interaction ends. Presence over pressure is the difference between being felt and being forced. Pressure tries to control outcomes, replies, emotions, attention, commitment. Presence allows connection to unfold naturally. A woman can feel this distinction instantly. When there's pressure, even subtle, her nervous system tightens. She becomes cautious, guarded, less open. When there's presence, she relaxes. And relaxation is where emotional attachment begins. Pressure often hides behind good intentions, wanting clarity, wanting closeness, wanting reassurance. But when those wants turn into expectations, they create resistance. She feels like she has to perform, respond a certain way, or meet an emotional demand. Presence removes that burden. It says, you don't owe me anything in this moment. That freedom is intoxicating because it's rare. Being present means listening without steering the conversation toward what you want. It means enjoying the interaction without mentally tracking progress. You're not counting messages, analyzing timing, or pushing for emotional escalation. You're simply there, grounded, attentive. That state of being is felt more strongly than any words. It communicates confidence, patience, and emotional intelligence all at once. When you prioritize presence, you stop trying to extract validation from her reactions. You don't need her excitement to feel okay. You don't interpret distance as rejection. You stay centered. That emotional self-sufficiency allows her to move at her own pace. And when a woman feels she can move freely without being pulled or chased, her curiosity deepens instead of shutting down. Presence also changes how moments end. You don't stretch interactions past their natural peak out of fear of losing momentum. You let good moments end cleanly. That restraint leaves an emotional echo. She doesn't feel drained, she feels wanting more. Pressure exhausts, presence leaves space, and space is where desire grows. Later, when she's alone, her mind returns to how it felt to be around you. Not rushed, not evaluated, not pushed, just seen and accepted in the moment. That emotional experience becomes a reference point. She compares it unconsciously to other interactions and realizes how different it was. How calm, how grounding. Presence over pressure doesn't try to make her think about you. It creates an emotional environment where thinking about you feels natural, effortless, safe. And once her mind associates you with ease rather than demand, you stop being just another man seeking attention. You become a feeling she wants to return to. Physical attraction may open the door, but emotional imprint is what makes someone stay in your mind. An emotional imprint forms when an interaction leaves a felt experience behind, not just a memory of words, but a lingering emotion that attaches itself to you. This is why some people are unforgettable even if nothing dramatic happened. They didn't overwhelm you, they shifted how you felt. An emotional imprint is created when a woman feels more herself around you than she does around most people, when she feels understood without being analyzed. When she feels accepted without being evaluated, that emotional safety allows her to relax into authenticity, and the brain marks those moments as important, not because they were loud, but because they were regulating. Calm moments that soothe the nervous system create deeper bonds than excitement alone. This is where many men get it wrong. They focus on doing impressive things, saying the right lines, creating sparks, but sparks fade. The nervous system remembers regulation. When you become associated with emotional steadiness, a sense of ease, clarity, and groundedness, you occupy a unique place in her inner world. You're no longer interchangeable. You become familiar in a comforting way, yet distinct. The imprint deepens when you respond to her emotions rather than react to them. You don't rush to change her mood or take things personally. You stay present with what she's feeling. That attunement signals emotional intelligence. It tells her she doesn't need to mask herself or manage you. Over time, that freedom becomes addictive. She starts associating you with relief. Relief from emotional labor, from having to perform. Later, when she's alone, that imprint resurfaces, not as a clear thought, but as a feeling. A sense of missing something she can't fully name. Her mind searches for the source and it lands on you, not because you demanded attention, but because her nervous system recognizes you as a safe, grounding presence. That's why emotional imprint beats physical attraction every time. Physical attraction excites the senses. Emotional imprint settles into the subconscious. One is replaceable. The other is not. When you leave an emotional imprint, you don't need to stay constantly present to remain relevant. Her body remembers you. Her emotions recall you. And that recall happens most strongly in quiet moments, at night, in stillness, when surface distractions fade and deeper feelings rise. That's the power of emotional imprint. It doesn't chase desire. It becomes the place desire naturally returns. Is psychological, transforms attraction from something casual into something consuming. It's not about how much time you spend together, but how deeply she feels connected when you do. A woman can be physically close to many men and still feel distant. Psychological closeness is different. It creates the sense that you get her on a level that others don't reach. And when that happens, desire doesn't fade when you're gone, it intensifies. This closeness forms when conversations move beyond surface exchange and into emotional resonance. You don't just hear her words, you understand the meaning beneath them. You reflect her emotions back without judgment or correction. When she feels emotionally mirrored, her brain releases a sense of bonding. She feels seen, not studied, known, not exposed. That experience is rare, and rarity deepens attachment. Psychological closeness also grows when you allow her to reveal herself gradually. You don't rush intimacy, you let trust build naturally. Each time she shares something real and feels accepted, her nervous system links that safety to you. Over time, her mind begins to associate you with emotional depth rather than fleeting excitement. That association changes how she thinks about you when you're not around. What makes this powerful is contrast. Most interactions she has are transactional, small talk, expectations, emotional roles. With you, she feels she can drop those layers. That relief creates desire, not pressure. Desire born from closeness feels warmer, deeper, and more persistent than desire driven by novelty. It doesn't spike and crash, it settles in. As psychological closeness grows, her inner dialogue shifts. She wonders what you would think, how you would respond. She feels connected to you even in your absence. This is not fantasy, it's emotional continuity. You become part of her internal world. And once someone enters that space, they're hard to remove. This kind of closeness doesn't require constant communication. In fact, too much contact can dilute it. What matters is emotional quality, not quantity. A single conversation that makes her feel deeply understood can outweigh weeks of shallow interaction. Her mind returns to that feeling because it met a core emotional need. At night, when distractions fall away, psychological closeness becomes louder. She doesn't replay your face as much as the feeling of being emotionally met. That feeling creates longing, not urgent, not anxious, but magnetic. Psychological closeness builds desire because it connects to who she is, not just what she sees. And when desire is rooted there, it doesn't fade easily. So if you want to be the man she thinks about at night, don't chase her thoughts, plant them. Don't try to be perfect, be present. Because when a woman feels seen, safe, and emotionally stirred, her mind does the rest. And that's when she won't be able to sleep without thinking about you.